All right, we're in Matthew chapter 9, verse 18. Are you with me? Here goes. While he was saying these things to them, a synagogue official came and bowed down before him and said, "My daughter has just died, but come and lay your hand on her and she will live." Jesus got up and began to follow him, and so did his disciples. And a woman who had been suffering from a hemorrhage for 12 years came up behind him and touched the fringe of his cloak. For she was saying to herself, "If I only touch his garment, I will get well." But Jesus, turning and seeing her, said, "Daughter, take courage, your faith has made you well." At once the woman was made well. When Jesus came into the official's house and saw the flute players and the crowd in noisy disorder, he said, "Leave, for the girl has not died, but is asleep." And they began laughing at him. But when the crowd had been sent out, he entered and took her by the hand, and the girl got up. This news spread throughout all that land. All right. This is just a really awesome story. Matthew, Mark, and Luke all provide this story. Matthew's is the shortest. Mark and Luke provide some more details, but this is just an afternoon with Jesus. It's pretty awesome, really. So yeah, let me kind of come back to this. In a sense, we'll get more into the story in a minute, but let me jump to what it causes me to think about is the different ways that we come to Jesus. We all have our own testimonies, but there are, some vague, maybe, kind of outlines that we follow, and some are shorter than others. Some of the shortest stories are like the times when Jesus shows up when no one was looking for Jesus. In the Gospel of John, we're reading a Bible study in the Gospel of John. You have the woman at the well. She wasn't looking for Jesus. She was going to get water. It was a regular everyday thing. She was just going to get water. She didn't seem like a particularly spiritual person. She didn't seem like she was on any kind of, spiritual journey or whatever. She was just going to get water and bumped into Jesus. Jesus revealed himself to her and she went, "Sign me up." And it was easy. We also read in the next chapter of John, there's the guy who's paralyzed and laying by the pool waiting for the water to stir and hoping to get healed by the magic of the water, whatever is going on there. And then Jesus just walks over to him. Out of all the people there, he walks over to him, heals the guy, and then slips off, right? And then Jesus just heals him, changes his life. And the guy, not only is he not looking for Jesus, he literally doesn't know who Jesus is even after he's healed. People ask him, "Who healed you?" And he goes, "I don't know. A guy, cloaky looking thing, hair, beard, I don't know." It's just, he's not looking for Jesus. Jesus just shows up, changes his life, and goes. And for some people, it's that easy. There's this grace, just this wonderful grace that Jesus just shows up, and we get this revelation that Jesus, wow, you're pretty awesome. I'm excited about that, and they get on board with it. We had baptism last weekend. Among the people who got baptized, one of them was Nathan Khaleesi, and that little fella, told his dad not too long before the baptism he wanted to get baptized. His dad says something to the effect of, well, son, that's for people who have committed their lives to Jesus, that have asked to be forgiven and wanted to live for Jesus. And he said, did you do that? And the little guy goes, well, yeah. And he goes, well, okay. Surprised at dad. Dad goes, well, when? And he goes, well, one week there was this message and they said that we needed to repent and give our hearts to the Lord. And so I did. I'm like, oh, you're right. The kingdom of heaven entered like a child. He just heard it and went, that sounds right. I'm going to do it. And there you go. Like, for some of us, it is that, feels like that short a step. Grace appears, it makes sense, we get on board. Other people, some of us, it's harder. In a similar manner, we maybe have walking about our lives and then grace appears, but it freaks us out. Like Peter in the boat. Peter has been around Jesus, but he didn't seem to have had that revelation yet until he's in the boat with Jesus and Jesus has been preaching. I'm sure it had some, effect on it, but strangely enough, the fish spoke more to the fishermen. So when Jesus told him to throw the net on the other side and he had not caught anything all night, but then when Jesus commanded, he did what he did and the fish were there and that spoke to the fishermen. And the fishermen had this revelation that Jesus is something incredible, but it immediately causes him to say, get away from me. I'm a sinful man. And there's this, the light shines, but somehow it causes this reflection, right? And we see ourselves, and we're terrified to see ourselves next to him. And it takes a little bit. Isaiah, he has the vision of the throne room of God and the glory of God, and he cries out, woe is me, for I am ruined. I'm a man of unclean lips, and I've seen this. And it ruins him. And God has to minister to him just to get him to calm down. And for some of us, that's what it's like. It's like the gospel comes out of nowhere and just scares us. How can God be that good? How can grace be that free? How could God do what he did for me? It's weird, but that's how it is, right? For some people, it's a process. For some people go searching, and some are more direct than others. Some go searching in a spiritual search. They read the texts of the Quran and the Bhagavad Gita and this and that, and they go through the thing and they find Jesus. If they keep searching, there's testimony after testimony of it. Some go in a roundabout way, just looking not for God, but just looking for fulfillment, but honestly seeking it. And they go through some, like Solomon, they go through, I've tried this, I've tried that. Millionaires have tried everything, and then they come to Jesus, and celebrities have had everything, and then they come to Jesus. Like, there's people out there who have gone through, and, probably some of you have gone through a list of other things you tried to find fulfillment in life, and then you found Jesus. But for some people, it's not even that direct. There's a good book out called Seeking Allah and Finding Jesus. It's a autobiography of a Muslim man who had really just wanted to know God. And in his Muslim context, that's what he sought. And he sought it with his whole heart. And the scripture says, God says, if you would seek me with your whole heart, you will find me. And he did. He found Jesus. He kept searching, and the farther he went, Well, he just went until he found Jesus, and that's where it led him. Others, even farther away from, the noble act of just trying to find God, some went trying to disprove God, but in their own and sincere way, were trying to find the truth that there is no God or that Jesus isn't real. And numerous people, Josh McDowell being one of them, Lee Strobel being another one, they sought and researched and went in looking to disprove this gospel and got themselves saved. Because he's there to be found. And these are all legitimate paths or whatever, or manners in which we come to God. And then I read this little section, and it's so cool that they squeeze these both in together. I mean, they didn't squeeze them in. This is just the day in the life of Jesus. But here they are, these two stories of two people who come to Jesus, not out of not nobly seeking the truth, not even aggressively trying to disprove something. They're not, they didn't just hear Jesus the first time and go, sign me up. These two people come to Jesus out of absolute desperation. The absolute desperation. There is this guy, and any parent would agree, you wouldn't be more desperate than that man is. He's got a child, dead. There is nothing. There is nothing. There is no hope in the world for him. And yet he leaves the house to go get Jesus. And he's heard, he is the synagogue ruler in Capernaum. There is probably only one synagogue in Capernaum at that time. But regardless, being a synagogue ruler in Capernaum, he knew Jesus. Jesus lived there. Jesus preached there. Jesus' ministry went on in that area. He knew who Jesus was. But for whatever reason, it's not until his child is dead that he comes to get Jesus. But he doesn't, even coming to Jesus, he doesn't have any reason to hope that Jesus can do anything. Jesus has cured the blind and the deaf and even a leper, and he's done these things, but no one has raised the dead. And yet he comes to Jesus because when you're desperate, yeah, all right. And there's something in him that says, I'm going to get Jesus, and I'm going to bring him to this girl. I'm going to get Jesus, and I'm going to bring him to her, and she's going to live. And he's too desperate to realize how stupid that sounds, how unreasonable that sounds, how irrational he's being. He left the house. His family is probably going, what are you doing? This isn't a time for running errands. Where are you going? But he is desperate. And he comes and gets Jesus. And they're going, and then there's this woman. And she has been 12 years suffering from an ailment that no one can fix. And she's tried everything there is, and every medication, and every essential oil, and every whatever, and spent everything that she had, and she's got nothing. And all of this, while her condition causes her to be basically like a leper, except for that you can't tell that she has what she has. But she's not allowed to be around people because they'll make them unclean. She can't socialize or go to synagogue or go to the marketplace unless she goes undercover, unless she keeps her secret, unless she, but this creates its own awkwardness and isolation and guilt and shame and all this kind of stuff piled on top of her. And she's been dealing with this for 12 years and no one can help her. And she has probably seen or heard of Jesus, and maybe has seen him minister to other people. And maybe it's part of what has happened to her is that she's seen Jesus minister to other people, and she's seen him say to the blind person, "What do you want me to do for you?" And she's terrified that he would say that to her because she can't say out loud in front of everybody what's going on. Because what if he doesn't heal her? And or even if he does, maybe no one will ever want to talk to her again because what are you telling me you've been dealing with this and you've been sneaking around with everybody, or you came in the crowd like this? What's wrong with you? And she doesn't feel right about the whole thing. So she's going to sneak in because she's desperate enough to sneak in. She's desperate enough to push through the crowd and get to Jesus. And she believes that she doesn't have to bother Jesus, but that there's power. And so if she could just get to Jesus and just touch even the edge of his garment. And so the language used gives the impression that we're talking about the bottom hem, the bottom edge of his garment. So she sneaks in, and whether she's walking and then just falls to her knees and grabs at it, or whether she crawled through and reached in between somebody else's legs to get a hold of it, she gets down there and touches just the edge of his garment. And she's maybe on her knees as she feels the change happening, and the crowd continues to walk on around her. And Jesus stops, and the crowd stops, and he says, "Someone touched me." The disciples like, "Yeah, no kidding. Everyone's touching you. Like, look at what's going on, you know." But there's, and then, you know, you can go home and let the Spirit preach this message to you, a whole other message. The significant difference between people touching Jesus and the way she touched Jesus. People being in the presence of Jesus and the way she was in the presence of Jesus. Everybody can get in the presence of Jesus, but not everybody walks away changed. There's a significant difference in the way she came to the presence of Jesus. He knows that one person in the crowd came to him and touched him in such a way that power happened. Healing happened. Something happened. He knew it. And so he stops and says, "Someone touched me." Everyone stops looking around. Well, this doesn't make any sense. But then there's one face, and she's looking at him. She knows what he means, and he can see her. He knows. And he steps close to her, and he tells her, "Daughter, don't be afraid. Your faith has made you well." It wasn't magic. It wasn't the hem. It was your faith. You reached out in faith. He stopped a ministry. Good luck with this, and only Jesus could pull this off. But a father trying to get help to his dead daughter, and Jesus stops on a mission this important to make sure that that woman knows that there wasn't just the universe ministering to her. It just wasn't the power of God, that he knew her. He wanted to see her face to face. He stopped everything to minister to her. Having done so, he goes on and he gets to that place. The people are crying. He tells them, "It's all right. He's just asleep." They start laughing. He throws them out. And then he says, "Little girl, I say to you, get up." And she gets up. The family has their child back. They came in absolute desperation, both of them, where no one else could help them. There was no other place to go. She, at least, had tried everything else. But Jesus doesn't have a problem with that. It's okay if you tried everything else in the world first and then tried Jesus, because he'll still answer you. Gordon telling me testimony of a guy in their ministry, and he said the guy's testimony is that he was been raised a Christian, but then had gone off on a spiritual search to find the truth. Tried going through all the other religions and wasn't, I guess, certain. But an event in his life kind of brought some clarity to that, or focus anyway. He said he was parachuting. He jumped out of a plane, and his parachute failed, and he started, cursing and, what have you, a little upset, I think. And then, he really got bothered when he let loose his backup parachute, and it didn't work either. And he testifies that he started praying, and he went down a list. He was praying to Buddha and Allah and Krishna, and he said it went down the list. And he said, and at the last moment, as he's fallen to the earth, he cried out to Jesus. And at the last moment, a gust of wind blew him from landing on solid earth to a swamp, and he lived. And, well, he stuck with Jesus. And Jesus doesn't care. If it's the last moment of your life, if it's your last try, you tried every other stupid thing there is in the world to find fulfillment. You've tried every other religion. You've tried every other God. You've tried every other thing. It doesn't matter. You think he would have hurt feelings. I would have hurt feelings. Well, we project our humanness on him, right? Well, because if I call you over and over and you don't call me back, and I don't mean like a stalker, but I mean, over the years, I just call you, I reach out to you, I'm doing all that, and you never reach out to me, you never return, you never call back, you never, right? And I'm trying to help you, I want to help you, and you never call back, and then you call me in the middle of the night someday, I might have a hard time picking up. I'll go like, really? Now, in the middle of the night? Like, I might answer and have a little attitude. Good to hear from you, and I'll not really be cool with it because I got hurt feelings. Jesus doesn't. He just has grace and mercy. He would be glad to answer your call whenever you call. It doesn't matter how screwed up you've been. It doesn't matter how messed up your life has been, how bad you've messed it up. It could be the last moment. I encourage you not to wait that long, but it could be. And if you call sincerely, Jesus, help me, he will answer without bitterness, without trying to make you feel bad about it. He just wants you forgiven, and he wants you to know, and this is what the woman needed to know this, that he doesn't just let you be healed because he's obligated, because he's God and everything. He wants to know you. He wants to know you. He doesn't want you just sober. He wants to know you. He doesn't want your life to get together. He wants to know you. Jesus accepts even the desperate call and loves us. Doesn't just answer it and say, yeah, you can have your healing, now let me be. He wants to know you. And he would stop everything else to spend time with you, to tell you it's all right. And that's That's like the story I see when I'm reading that. Just the grace and the love and the mercy of Jesus to people who come to him when they're, for one reason or another, there wasn't anywhere else to go. I'll give you this too. It's okay to pray that for people. Yeah, I know. And heads up, I might pray that for you sometimes. If you go off the rails, I might pray, Lord, put them in a situation where they're so desperate that they get their act together. They come back. Because sometimes desperation is the route we take. Sometimes it's what we need. That's all right. Might not be the shortest route or the easiest route. But all that matters is that you finally call out. So I'm encouraging us, one, that we would be okay with calling out to Jesus when we're desperate. Don't feel bad about it. Now, sure, you messed up all this way, but this is the one thing you're doing right, so don't feel bad about that. And sometimes that's what's necessary. So it's okay if it's the Lord's will to let somebody get to that place. It's okay to even pray that. Sometimes it doesn't help us to prosper if we're not with the Lord. Sometimes it would be better if we were desperate. So I encourage you to know that the Lord hears the desperate cries. He accepts, he'll answer even when he's the last person you call, he'll still answer. No matter when you call, he'll answer. And he'll be happy to do it. Amen.